Okay, so we had the story Those Who Stay and Those Who Go by Anne Dom. And just a little bit about Anne Dom. She was born and raised on a farm in South Dakota where she rode horses and competed in dressage and jumping, which are two forms of competitive horseback riding. Eventually, she left home to go to college and she started writing essays about her life on the farm. She now has a collection of short stories which are centered around her past experiences in the small hometown that she grew up in. The theme of the story to me is that the author is sort of outgrowing the town in which she grew up in, and now she sees the desolation and the absence of happiness in the town. She talks about how some people leave town and go to work elsewhere while others stay and work. She says that she is in between because she left for college, but now she's back in town running her business. And she says that she feels like she doesn't really belong anymore. In paragraph 13, she says, after 8 years of college, I am a stranger in my hometown. And in the last paragraph, she explains, my fleeting thoughts. Are the horses in? Ranch trucks protected from the hail? Tomatoes covered? It's more than this. Somehow I don't belong anywhere but inside myself. And even then, I'm restless. What keeps me in South Dakota? I think maybe she has an attachment to the town because it's where she grew up. And so she almost like feels an obligation to stay there and work for her family farm. But I think she's questioning like why she's there and where she is in life. And then you can just feel a sense of desolation and you can tell that she is lost through her writing. She trickles in description about the town that makes it just seem small and lonely. Like on page 55, she says, for those who stay, the nights are getting long. There's no question about having children. Everyone does if they can, if for no other reason than to break the silence of those winter nights. There are certain things that bring her happiness, but there's a lot of emptiness to the town, and you can just feel it through her writing and just through her writing style. And then Zinsser would probably say that her description of the town is a little vague and could be edited to seem more personal because she kind of describes like the cafes, the library, the gift shop. She goes like through a ton of different aspects of the town and doesn't really focus on one point in detail. But the focus of her essay is definitely centered more around her feelings of the place and just rather than describing the place itself, it's more like the emotional attachment and like how she feels about the place. It does work in her essay though, because she does a great job of getting her point across to the reader and giving the reader an understanding of what living in her hometown is like for her and others around her. But it's a little bit vague in the description. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so I'm the language expert, and in the story, the author uses the right balance of quotations and analysis. She uses a lot of listing, like the title was Those Who Stay and Those Who Go. And this technique happens quickly, appearing as early as paragraph 4, and it continues throughout the story. These lists always include facts and criticism about the town and the places. Like for example, this was said in the story. It was the jobs of what the high schoolers had access to, and I said kids can work at truck stops, waiting tables, pumping gas, or washing dishes throughout high school and beyond. This list um, imitates the way these people live in the town. The lists are a way they perform as a sort of character in the middle of her story, and it also creates a tone and atmosphere that allows the reader to understand the story setting. I'm done.
I was the tenant expert, and the essay does meet the writing tenets pretty well. The author creates humanity by making the reader connect with the place and scenarios that they're talking about. For example, I related to watching basketball games with my friends and judging people. I also related to the relationship that the author had with her friend. two friends growing apart because they chose different paths is something a lot of people can relate to. Dom doesn't talk like a robot and has human element. This quote from the essay shows the humanity in her essay. Now we're both adults, and she observes me carefully from a distance from 2 arms length as she writes up my ticket. I can feel the tension between Dom as her old friend stands far away from her, maybe symbolizing how they've grown apart. The simplicity is there for the essay. Most of the words are needed and aren't useless. There are only some words that could be removed here and there. For example, in this sentence from the essay, even so, I don't really belong here. The word really could be taken out of the sentence and it would keep the same meaning. The adverbs don't restate the verbs and no words weaken the statements. There are no cliches that I could find that affect the clarity of the essay. Dom has clear writing, gets to the point. All her paragraphs humanize the setting and experiences, so none of them are useless. The sequence makes sense. First, she talks about the people of the town and the activities that are in it. Then she talks about herself and how she's a stranger. Then she talks about her current and past relationships with her friend. Dom's essay keeps the reader intrigued with her use of verbs. The verbs that are used for the most part are active and sparky. The mood that I think Dom is going for is sad and reflective. Reflective because in the essay she's reflecting about the past and how fun it was when she wasn't a stranger to the town. She talks about how she's a stranger to the town now, even though she owns a business there and works in the summer. This makes the audience sympathize with her and makes us question why the town sees her as a stranger. And I'm finished.